Alrighty, willkommen. Welcome to the Blended Planet YouTube channel, talking about anime production and what time is it? It's about 7:15. And I've been kind of absent for a few days, but actually doing a lot of shots. I could probably show a couple examples of what I've been spending time with. This was a shot that was originally done in OpenTunes, and then I kind of brought the assets into Krita and redid it. And this is actually kind of a good example of what's been going on. Shots that were, in many cases, not bad. This would be another example. The original shot was this shot that again was done in OpenTunes. Completely re-envisioned the framing and whatnot in Krita, and the upshot is that while in the past I have oftentimes been a very ardent enthusiast about OpenTunes, what I have found is that it's pretty darn good as long as you stick to kind of one scene at a time in an OpenTunes scene file. But when you get into greater levels of complexity, it can really start to have some issues, which isn't a horrible criticism, because frankly the same thing is true of Krita. I mean, when I do shots in Krita, I almost always do just one shot at a time. But you see, this is again another example where the whole, this was the original shot. Back then I really wasn't drawing the character the way she sort of wound up being. Her eyes were too big in that shot, and so we could actually go through a lot of shots and find quite a bit that's been improved. But where we're at today, I just redid this shot, and let me see here. Actually, that's the one I just did. So this is the shot I'm doing right now. And what I did, believe it or not, was I simply hit the 1 key in Blender, and I've got things framed up so that the entire broadcast HD frame fits in the window, and then I took a screenshot. That's it. And then I just brought the screenshot into into Krita, and then what I did was I took the sword that's in the foreground and just drew a lasso around it, hit cut and paste, and it automatically was pasted into another layer, as you can see here. So I knew I wanted to separate these things because in the original Blender shot I actually had taken 2 still frames, and so this was my animation, which quite candidly I'm not quite happy with. So again, that's a lot of what the work really is right now, is going through and just taking shots that are not quite where they need to be and seeing if I can't improve things a bit. So this is going to be shot 0044. The thing that's been the biggest, well, one of the biggest wins lately using Krita is that with Krita all the image information is packed into the Krita file. So that means if I pull this project up again later, everything is going to be there in the Krita file, and we don't have any issues related to data having to be externally referenced on the hard drive somewhere, which in theory probably isn't a big thing. In practice, it can create problems if the application is not superbly good at managing that external data. My experience lately has been that OpenTunes definitely can be prone to get confused when it comes to external data, and so you wind up in a situation where it can take enormously longer to fix a scene than to just completely redo it from scratch. So that's what I've been finding myself doing since I favor Krita a little more lately. And the simple fact is I've been working quite quickly. Actually, something I thought about in regard to this was that I sort of said to myself, if if the shots that were coming out of OpenTunes, and this is not really a criticism of OpenTunes, it's more of just a commentary of myself. But if the stuff that I was getting out of OpenTunes was just uniformly superb, then it's certainly worth putting up with a few glitches or idiosyncrasies in the software to get the job done. What I found is that really hasn't been the case. I don't feel. I think that so to completely rethink these shots kind of has made sense. So anyway, enough said about that. This is certainly not intended to be an OpenTunes bashing session. This is just, I'm just kind of bringing you as the viewer up to speed on what the heck's going on here in terms of workflow decisions. So here what I want to do is just balance his ears out, and I'm finding myself doing this a lot. Yeah, actually, see, that's interesting, isn't it? See, look at how unbalanced his eyes are. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just do this kind of the fun way. I'm going to take this, go Control-C, Control-V. Now, what Krita just did was created another layer. So now I'm going to hit the Animate tool and just do a flippy poo. Drag this over here. And as you can see, that's going to create a problem, which I really prefer not to have to fix. So, well, actually, that doesn't matter. Since it's on a different layer, it doesn't matter. So now what I'm going to do is just pull back here and take a look at this and hit the M key. Yeah, see? Boy, that M key is useful. Now, you can do that in OpenTunes too, by the way, of course. You just hit the H key for horizontal flip. Okay, so now in this layer, I can get away with a lot of this because we're still at the point where there's not really any animation that's been done. So that means that I can fairly liberally patch things up, add things, copy and paste, and then just hit Control-E, like right here, to bake that down because it hasn't been animated yet. And again, we have the sword in the front. Well, why did I do this? I did this because I want to be able to go Control-Insert to create a keyframe. And then his line is my sincere apologies. I felt that the timing on the original line wasn't quite right. So I'm going to say my sincere apologies. So right on apologies is where I want to have the turn of the head. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do this on a couple key frames. So what I'm going to do is make this just about the size of his head, and I'm going to hit I'm using the liquify tool in rotate mode. Okay? Actually, I guess I need to resize that specifically. And let's just see if I've got it, and it's wrong. So stop, hit escape, and that's one thing you need to be aware of with the rotate tool is, you got to go in the right direction. So now I'm just going to go like this, and then I'm going to go to this, drag that over like that, and now let's just see if there's any damage as a result of that, and there is. So that's definitely not going to work very well, which is kind of unfortunate. It means I'm going to have to I kind of knew that might happen, and if I'd have been smart, maybe I would have went into the original OpenTunes file to export the character without the background on him. But that's okay. Let me just say that this does provide a nice reference. Okay, so I'm not going to kill that keyframe. What I am going to do is go back here and let's just explore a different strategy. So now let's just hide that layer and duplicate it. Okay, so now here in the duplicate, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that keyframe. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out his head and just do the head turn on the head only and then fill in the background. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So how do we do that? Well, basically, I'm just going to do it sort of the old-fashioned way, which is to just manually cut it out. And I'm going to go ahead, since we've got this really solid black area here, we're going to use that to our advantage. And you know, we'll see how this goes. It could be that I'm not really going to get away with this blue range around the head, but I'm going to try. So having done that, I can get rid of that and then hit Control-Shift-A so that we are not having any selection at all. And now I'm just going to take this big brush, B key, the brush, and just let's just paint this in. Paint it in. And obviously we've got some stuff here in the sky that you could argue probably should be cloned, but the way I'm going to solve that is I'm just going to actually go like this. I'm just going to sort of paint into it so that it's no longer a problem, you know, like that. Okay, so now we can just color this in. Should be able to just do the same thing here, like so. And now when we turn his head back on, now we've got the ability with the animate tool to just anchor it here at his neck and do the animation this way. Okay, looks like there's a little bit of a patching job we'll have to do where the neck meets the body, but not a big deal. And we can address some of that right now in the easiest way, which is to just do some slightly more careful erasing around my characters, around the parts that are going to be problem areas. So that's what you do. You know, you sort of see the issues you're going to have, and then you do what you have to do to make it work. So in this case, that really should do the trick, other than, yeah, you could argue that in this layer we probably should go ahead and fill that in a little better. I don't think that the lack of the light colored outline really matters that much. In fact, on the contrary, what I'm going to do is take my eraser. Whoops, sorry. I guess I don't want to use my eraser. What I do want to use is just use my brush to basically fade that away as it approaches his neck. I think that's probably fine. And then up here, I think we could make a little adjustment like that, and that should work. Okay, so let's just test it. Test it by going whoa, whoa, whoa. Yep, that'll work. Okay, so cool beans. That means we've got this layer working. We hit insert, and okay, so I believe the words "my sincere apologies" were going to be somewhat like this, and now this gets into the reason why I did this at all, which was that I just want to be able to tween it a little better. Essentially put that extra tween in there. And okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go ahead and take these two keys. Actually, let's take all three of these keys. Here's what we're going to do. This will be interesting. Let's take the keys. Let's duplicate them here. And then we're going to take this range of keys and we're going to mirror them. That means we're just reversing them. My sincere apologies. Okay, so now we can take this. We'll move this downstream to about 36. And let me check this. Yeah, so this is a duplicate, so that one can be removed. And then this one needs to be on 2s. What I'm finding is if you're going to have your guy move, you want it on 2s. Okay, cool. So now let's pull that back, actually. My sincere apologies. Yeah, there you go. So there's the shot. And the whole thing took just a few minutes. What did it take? It literally took 15 minutes to completely redo this shot. And there's no doubt in my mind that the shot is better than what we had before. But if you're doubting, let's take a look. See that? Got this winky thing going on with the shadows, which I can kind of see the argument that the shadow would change when his head moves, but honestly, it actually looks distracting. It's more effective without it. So this entire, I'm looking at the other screen right now. This goes from 3935 to 4005. So 70 frames. 70 frames. So what I'm going to do is come back here, and in the animation, which your installation of Krita may have some of these panels in different places, but this is the animation docker, and I'm going to make this, just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to make it 72, so there's a couple frames of latitude there. And file, let's make sure we save our work, and render the animation. Now the way I've been doing this is I render into this folder called conversions, and the rendering seems to be going really fast. And then what I do is I jump into the conversions folder here, and I just run this batch file, which instantly takes the MP4 and converts it to an MJPEG. And that is just one of my little conceits, because it gives me the ability, first of all, to see the thumbnail, because for whatever reason, even though it uses oh boy, I can't talk. Even though it uses FFmpeg to convert it to MP4, it creates something glitchy in the MP4 such that you cannot see the thumbnail, whereas thumbnails of MP4s generated from OpenTunes or Blender show up just fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my mouse right there, and we're on shot 42. So on my other screen, I'm going to go and find shot number 42.avi, and I see it, drag it in here, and how did I do the math wrong? How did I wind up? Wait a minute, what did I just do? Maybe it wasn't 42, it was 44, wasn't it? Obviously. I am stupid. Sorry about that. Shouldn't be talking and working at the same time. Okay, that looks more like it. So now we go like this, and there we go. So I like it better, and frankly this is what's been happening as I've been redoing these shots. It's just like across the board, the overall look of things seems to be improving. I'll show you a shot that I did I think yesterday, way back here. Yes, this shot, and it's a kind of a subtle difference, but this is the original. It's not horrible, but basically the detail on her hair just didn't look right to me. So there, you know, it's a lot more of an anime look, a lot simpler, cartoony sort of color scheme. So, and then I also added, you see that pop when her eyes open? Bloop, right? So the original, she just opened her eyes. Boop. And I thought it really would look cooler if she bloop like that. Right? So, I mean, to an extent, I think it's opinion, but what I have been finding quite consistently with people here that are looking at the work, as well as you guys on YouTube, is that almost without exception, these changes have been met with approval. People seem to agree that we are improving things. So, all right, so now, what about this? Okay, here the guy's got his head tilted forward, and I don't see any reason to redo that shot. It doesn't look... there is a reason to redo it. You know what the reason is? Because of the unbalanced eyes. See, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. I've been seeing, you know, it's like I go in and I mirror the thing and find out that the eyes are kind of out of whack. So therefore, here's what we're going to do. What does he say here? This looks like this is probably about 100 frames. Let's just check it real quick. So we're going from 4112 to 4233. So that's about 120. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, and that's going to be shot. And this is called 44A, and we're going from 45 here to 46 here. So just to be consistent, I'm going to go ahead and call it 44A. even though that might not be the smartest thing ever. But we are going from 44 to 44A, so let's do it that way. We're going to save this as 44, and we'll make a big capital A. Okay. And now what we're going to do is go in here, and we need to make sure this is going to be 120 frames long. Okay. And then we can save this. And once again, all my animation drawings and everything are baked into the Krita file. So what do we want to change? Well, he says, your questions will be answered if you'll be so good. Okay, so I think what we're going to do here, first of all, is let's take this and just drag it back to here. So your questions will be answered. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these 2 frames. And then what I want to do, okay, on the word kind, I want to do a little doohickey on his eyes. Okay, so I'm going to hit the animate tool. Boom. And we're going to use liquify. I tend to use liquify a lot when I'm trying to take what I had before and just build on it. Okay, so in this case it might be better to redraw it, but I'm going to try it once with the liquify tool just to see what happens. Ooh, see, there's the danger. We've got to let me check something here. Okay, this is my normal amount is like 001. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it up so that this is a little more aggressive. Let me see. Oh boy, that didn't work. Okay, forget that. Bad idea. Bad idea, Dave. Okay, so I think rather than spinning my wheels, it would be better to just redraw this. So what I'm going to do is go to this brush, B key, just sample this color right here, and then what I'm going to do is go like that, and then to make it simple, I'm just going to mirror it and go like that. Okay, and now let's take this shadow. Let me just see. Okay, that's actually the exact same color. So what I'm going to do is give myself a slightly darker color. Yes, that looks good. Okay, so what I'm trying to capture here is a bit of snarkiness on his part. Your questions will be answered if you'd be so kind as to come with us. Okay, questions will be answered if you'll be so kind as to come with us. Okay, and the only other thing I would say is, what if there's a little bit more of a tilt on the head? Okay, so let's hit the animate tool and just give him a little bit more of that tilt. Your questions will be answered if you'll be so kind as to come with us. Okay, and I'm not sure if I like this idea, but I'm thinking maybe putting it back will be good too, but we'll see. I may not like that. Okay, so I feel like this is definitely happening a little bit too late. Your questions will be answered if you'll be so kind as to come with us. Okay, this did not work, so I'm just going to delete that keyframe and I'm going to redo it. But this time I'm going to be more careful to put the anchor point where it needs to be. So now I think we're going to be in good shape. Put it at 80. Yeah, I'm trying to follow the beats of his voice. All right, and now I think this could stand to come back a little bit. I really like the rippling. You hit Alt when you drag your keys around. You hit Alt. Okay, so he's saying your questions will be answered if you'd be so kind as to come with us. All right, I think that's all right. So File, Save, File, Render Animation. And this is going to be 44A into the Conversions folder. hit the OK button. That exports really, really fast. Go to the conversions folder here and convert it. Boom, done. Drag 44A into the render folder. And now we're going to go to 44A here. And we are going to drag that into Blender. Right over top of the old one. And I'll stretch this out just a little bit so it overlaps. Okay, and now we're going to move this. Your questions will be answered if you'll be so kind as to come with us. Okay. I'm just trying to get the timing. Okay, so my only complaint would be that I decided this does not work. It's too much movement. So I'm just going to do a quick re-render, save, render, make sure we're still in the right folder, and render animation, yes. Okay. So just quick fix, conversions folder, quick redo. Now, in order to make this work, I'm going to have to go File, Save This, File New, so that we don't have the video files open in Blender. Now we can just drag this into the render folder. It's going to want to replace the original, and when I reopen the project in Blender, of course, it will be referencing the new version. So, your questions will be answered if you'll be so kind as to come with us. Yeah, he's getting a little irritated. Okay, this shot's got to be redone next. However, since it's been about a half an hour, that will be the next video. As you know, there will be more later.